Hello, everyone. I am so excited to introduce to you today's other half of the Name a Better Duo podcast, Shakira, Renée, Paye. Shakira is an exceptional actress, screenwriter, and executive producer. She can be seen starring opposite Ashton Sanders and Jeffrey Wright in the Netflix feature All Day and a Night. Her comedy troupe, Obama's Other Daughters, was the first podcast in the Shondaland podcast slate, You Down. You can catch her in roles on Modern Family, Blackish, Criminal Minds, Lena Waithe's 20s, Lethal Weapon, or hear her voiceover on Marvel's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and the 2021 Space Jam Legacy. She's honed her acting skills at the acclaimed American Musical Dramatic Academy, along with a residency at the UCB Theater, where she stands out with her quirky sense of humor. Welcome, Shakira, Renée, Paye.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So excited to have you, for you to join the duo today. And you know, as always, we like to start off with a little game. The game is called The People Want to Know, because the people want to get to know you before we hop into these questions, okay?
Okay.
All right. So first thing that the people want to know. Yeah, this is one of my favorite questions because this helps you know a lot about a person. If you could hear any song again for the first time, what would it be?
This is tough because I'm a creature of habit. So I listen to some of the same music that I've been listening to since middle school.
Okay.
So, but then I have one song that's been my favorite song for probably the past 6 years. And it's this song called Fruit by Abra. And it's a, indie popish sound, easy listening.
Okay.
But I guess I'll say Ashanti's debut album.
Okay.
I listen to every track on that album over and over. And the whole album. Well, specifically the Rescue song and Scared were those two in rotation.
Okay. I love when people come on here with songs I've never heard before, because I'm like, okay, I need to go listen. So the first one was Fruit by
Abra, like abracadabra.
Okay. All right. So what are your top 3 movies of all time?
Oof. Okay. These have shifted over the years a little bit, but I'll just go with the first 3 that popped in my mind. Requiem for a Dream is very heavy and dramatic, but the acting, the editing, I think I hadn't seen anything like that when I saw that. So it was the first time I was taken aback. Then I was going to say Dirty Dancing. My mom and I, we used to watch Dirty Dancing on go, repeat all the time. And Mean Girls. I was torn between Mean Girls and Set It Off, but I watched Mean Girls more because it's an easier watch. Although Set It Off is a classically good movie, but it's just too heavy to just have in rotation regularly.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch Set It Off every time it's on TV, but Mean Girls will.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll make it feel good. Sometimes you just want to feel good.
Yes, that part.
Yeah. Okay, so last thing that the people want to know. What does Shakira do when she's not on set? What are your favorite things to do when not on set?
Oh, when I'm not on set. Okay. So pre-pandemic, you remember you came to one of my stand-up shows, which was great because I was still so new and you were very supportive. So I appreciate you doing that. But I used to do improv as well. And that was fun. Technically it's still in the acting realm, but it's fun and playful and you're making stuff up on the spot. Now I read, I watch, Netflix like everybody else. I go on hikes and walks. I love weightlifting. So I do a lot of that throughout the week. And I feel like I bounce around through a few of those things kind of.
I'm glad you brought up the weightlifting because I was gonna bring that up because you're going hard. I've seen your videos. You don't show a whole lot of it anymore, but you don't just do your regular workouts. You look like you do for a reason.
Oh, thanks. I did CrossFit for 2.5 years at the all-female CrossFit gym. So I would be in the gym 4 to 5 days a week, lifting weights, having a good old time.
Oh, that's right.
So, yeah.
This East Coast winter over here has got me eating all the cornbread and all the
You gotta protect, you gotta put some meat on those bones.
so I need those workouts in my life. All right, so we're gonna hop into the questions. When did you first discover your love for acting?
Wow. So I feel like it was sort of like not predestined, but I feel like we all come here and we have a purpose and we find our purpose throughout life and we grow into it. So when I was young, my father passed away when I was 3. And before he passed away, he was like, he got a video camera, and this is in the early 90s. So not to age myself, but it was in the early 90s. And he used to record everything that I was doing. And he took me to my first few auditions. And then once he passed away, my mom had a lot to put on and she didn't pursue that for me. Yeah. So that was what like the seeds he planted before that happened. And when I got older, by the time I was like 6 or 7, I was like, I want to be on TV. Like I want to be an actress. So my mom just says when I was little that I always wanted that. So she didn't really know what to do. So she put me in dance lessons because, in Baltimore, it's not really a film and TV community. So I started there, and I never really could imagine myself doing another career. Growing up, I guess, and because my mom didn't come from an educational background, there was no pressure to be a lawyer or a doctor or anything other than what I wanted to do. So I was like, I like acting and it seems fun, and let me go to New York and try it out. And then I went to New York, and then I went to LA, but, I went to Patapsco and did, acting at I'm a theater major there. And then I went to AMD, New York. So there was never really, suddenly I knew. It was like always something that was just a part of my life growing up.
You always gravitated towards. So you said you did pursue theater in high school. And then
I went to the Arena Players for summer camp in middle school. I also used to do plays at church and all of that kind of stuff when we had them. But yeah, I started I would say the Arena Players was my first like theater introduction. We did Ride Out High, aka Grease, but without the rights. That's how I call it, Ride Out High. So we didn't have to pay for it. Budget was a little tight. The budget was tight, but it was a great outlet for little Black kids in the city. So I was grateful for that opportunity. I played Frenchie, and that was the first time I got a role where I had lines, and I was like, and I was never, just to be clear, I was never exceptionally better than anybody. I was always kind of trying to please let me get an opportunity. You know what I mean? Like there were several plays where I didn't even have a line. So I always wanted more. And I guess that always was a challenge. Like nobody believes in me, but I believe in me kind of. I'm going to push. Like even with high school, I didn't get into Baltimore School of the Arts or Carver, which are the 2 better schools in Baltimore, if you know Baltimore. So I felt, a lot of people be like, all right, I didn't get into the schools, I might as well quit. And I was like, no, I'm gonna go to Patapsco. And it worked out because at Patapsco, I was a star. So I got to be the star of a ton of plays at Patapsco because the bar was a little lower, but it pushed me to get opportunities and play and focus on the fun of acting versus I'm not successful in Baltimore, I should quit. So then that just gave me enough motivation to let me try it out in New York. And I had the same thing happen at AMDA. They humbled me real quick.
There's so many gems in what you just said. First off, I always say that consistency is what separates those who are successful from those who aren't. The ones who are able to push past the no's, because in this business, you're gonna get so many of them,
So many no's.
So the people that are able to make it in this industry are the ones who push past those no's and remain consistent. Don't let that stop them from pursuing what they're passionate about. And then on top of that, like you said, God has a reason for everything, for you to be able to go to Patapsco and experience what it's like to be the star, who knows where, like the Carver or, the other schools you may have been in the background, but being able to be a leader, it prepared you for where your career is going. And you also briefly brought up your dance background. And I know you from church, and we danced in church together, but I know that you also have an even much deeper than I do, dance background. So do you feel like that's kind of helped train you for this type of career? I know that there's a lot of
Yeah,
discipline that dance requires, and you
yeah.
know,
They're a dumpster is moving
oh,
on
I
my.
can hear it. I can hear
No.
it, girl.
Okay. 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 Good. I felt like dance was my first experience on stage. And at my dance school, I wasn't the best there either. So I was always like I was learning and being conditioned for, I guess, the industry that I am in, like getting used to being told no as a child and getting used to like, just a random statistic, according to SAG, actors book 3 to 7% of all the jobs they audition for. So out of 100 auditions, I booked 3 to 7 jobs. I audition a lot. People see the wins. People see, oh, you were on da 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 da. And I was like, I auditioned 84 times last year. I booked 3 jobs, 84 no's. Great. Sometimes tapes that I was like, dream roles, you know what I mean? But you got to have that like, this or better. If this don't work out, it just gives you the tenacity. But dance was definitely my first time on stage, and it was definitely playful. I'm not a dancer anymore. I can't. I be in there like trying to make sure I'm on beat.
Girl, with you.
I be all beat and stuff. I'm like, dang, I really did let dance go. Yes, I haven't. I think I took a dance class in like 2018. That was the last time I took a dance class, and it was probably fine. I was fine, but I wasn't like, I used to really be in it. And at church, I led in a lot of dances, which was awesome and very fun. Yeah. But yeah, I will say dance was a good start for me to get on stage and just get used to being in front of an audience.
Yeah, people need to hear that about the audition process and how stressful it can be. And just not even just stressful, but just how much goes into it. And like you said, I was listening to an interview with well, it was a YouTube video with Tia Mowry, and she was interviewing Jackie Harry and Loretta Devine. And Jackie Harry said, when you audition, it's important to leave it there, like leave the audition there. Do you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. And it's hard sometimes because although it's pretend, you're emulating life and you're doing real things and feeling real feelings. So although the better you feel them, the better you figure out how to live truthfully in that moment as that character, the more of that character you take on, that more of that part of that person that you're pretending to be, you take into yourself, and we're souls, we're humans, we feel. So I think it's very important. Sometimes I grieve it, like I have a moment where I'm like, I gotta shake it off. I did the thing. And then sometimes I immediately want to get rid of a role, especially if it's like something hard and dramatic and reliving someone else's trauma. You want to wash that off real quick. And then sometimes if it's something you want, you gotta let it go, because every time and it's so much easier said than done. But every time I want something too bad is when it's always the hardest thing for me to get. And when I audition for something I could care less is when they'll be like, you're on a bail. I'm like, what?
Wow. Yeah. In that life.
I know.
But yeah, I can imagine, especially when you do so many roles, like how much of that you take in and how you really have to put in the work to like release that. You could be a million different people at once with all of that. So who would you say inspired you the most to pursue your passion?
On TV or like in my like personal
life, it could be on TV or
I would say it was easy between my mom and my grandfather. I feel like my mom, she never, there was never any restriction in the regard. She was always supportive. So I always felt like, because like when I talk to other people who are actors, they talk about their parents being like, they wanted them to do a real career. And I'm like, my mom never said that. She never thought of this as not a real career. She was like, if you think you can do it, then go do it. I believe in you. So that was always helpful. And then my grandfather, he overcompensated after my father passed away, which was, you need that type of thing. And I feel like he was always just one of one of the kindest, most wonderful people in my life when he was alive. And yeah, like, so feeling that love and support from the people close to you, definitely, like, to me, that definitely helped me. And then career wise, when I went on, to New York, I started, like, I love Regina King, a career like hers where she's done voiceover animation and she's a director, and she plays powerful and strong Black women, but also she started playing, a little more hood Black women, like that she has a diversity, and people are finally catching on. But she's been she's goals. She's been #goals for years.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that too, because a lot of people, like you said, especially with these, non-traditional careers, don't have that support system, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show, or to kind of bring people on who have those type of careers that don't always seem attainable, because people need to know that it is possible, put in the work, and that we should support the people around us that want to pursue something like that. Speaking of, how attainable it is, but how much of a journey it is, describe to us your journey. I know you said you started in New York, then you moved to LA 12 years ago. Explain how that journey breaking into the industry has been for you.
So I guess I'll give you the short version. Going to AMDA, which is an acting school, was fun. It was sweet. It was safe. It felt like all was possible, which I highly recommend. Like, when you first get into this career, it can be hard. There's no one direction. There's no one right way to work in the industry. And even how I feel as though my career is taking off the most, it's not even a traditional route, and I wouldn't even know how to tell you to do it. So don't go in trying to take the same exact steps as someone else. Everybody has their own journey. But my journey, I went to AMDA New York. I got a certificate. Then I came to LA. I continued and got a bachelor's degree in performing arts. And during that time, I had a manager. She didn't get me out. Then I had another manager. She dropped me. That broke my heart because, she didn't think I was good enough at the time. And I did have work to do, but that was tough because it was the first time I was getting real auditions. So then the auditions slowed down again. I got another manager who was like an aunt, great vibes. And managers are there to be like, just help build. Agents are usually like business, like get you these auditions because no one makes money until you make money. But managers are usually there to groom. And I highly recommend, when you're first starting out, to find a manager that you rock with. And also get a commercial agent, because commercials, anybody can be in commercials, and they're game changers. Like my first commercial booking, I joined the union in 2014. So the actor union, that was 2014. My first real booking for a national commercial was an IHOP commercial. And that was in 2013 after living in LA for 3 years. I made $10,000 to $30,000 off of that one commercial. But before that, I was making minimum wage as a waitress. And then I was also as a server full-time for 8 years. So it's a lot of, so I just want to be clear, like it is a hustle, it is a grind, but you can make great money, especially from like a commercial. So I went, and that kind of helped me with the year. And then career-wise, what happened next after that? I joined UCB not too long after that, which is an improv space that no longer exists. But I ended up on an all-Black female comedy team called Obama's Other Daughters. And I went to, we did comedy together. We did a few college shows, wrote some sketches. And then I ended up going to this workshop with this woman named Lucia Anio. And it was for women who wanted to direct comedy. It was a free workshop. And at the end of it, I told her I was on a sketch team and would love for her to come to the show. She gave me her email address. I emailed her some of our sketches. I emailed her the time and date of the show. She came to the show, loved it. Then we all got signed with United Talent Agency based off of improv, which is crazy because United Talent Agency is one of the top 3 agencies in the world, And that was based off of aligning myself, doing the work, and not expecting anything, because I invited her to a show. She didn't have to come to an improv show. People don't go, like you've lived in LA, people don't come to improv shows. So like she had a background in comedy. She was on the show Broad City, a writer and executive producer. And now she's an executive producer for the show Hacks on HBO Max. And she won an Emmy for directing on Hacks. So that was and has been a step that I can't tell anybody how to replicate. I can just say I showed up, timing. And even up until I was a server for 8 years and I I wouldn't have been at that workshop. Something in my gut told me like, I gotta leave this restaurant. Yeah. The only other actors that were working there had been there for years and it was a safe space because we were making good money as servers. It was a Beverly Hills restaurant. And I knew deep down that I had to leave and I had to leave when I had to leave and I left. And then the next 2 weeks later, I signed with United Talent Agency. Wow. And then we sold a pilot to Comedy Central, which didn't get picked up. But we did 3 sketches. They released those sketches. Then we wrote a pilot for Netflix. This is recent. That also hasn't been picked up. So like all of this time, this is between 2018 and 2022, where I've written 2 pilots no one knows about with my sketch team, sold them to 2 big networks still, and I'm still building, I'm still growing. But it led me to writing more. And I also wrote a feature, started writing a feature before the pandemic hit, finished it, did rewrites with a writing partner, and just sold my first feature. So, congrats. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, like that, man, that is such, it's just another testament to the consistency. And that's why I always want to encourage people just to start. Because it's going to take time, it's going to take work. It's going to take grinding, it's a hustle, but now you're able to see more fruit from all that labor that you put in for those years, and it can take taking that leap as well, because a lot of people need that safety net, but sometimes you have to listen to that voice that says, go, jump, and who knows, but what you may have missed out on if you hadn't taken that leap. On top of that, the power of networking, because a lot of the time we don't want to reach out to people. We don't want to say, come to this show. We don't want to say, put ourselves out there like that or step out of our comfort zone. But you taking that initiative, now you've all been signed and now you've got all these opportunities that come your way. So y'all write these gems down, okay? They're good. They're so good. And like you talked about with the auditioning process, almost 100 auditions to get, you said three roles. How do you build that tough skin, that thick skin to deal with that?
For me, I think you get to a place where you start to, one, you have to really love yourself. And then you have to figure out what works for you, like what steps in self-care and self-love and gratitude and beliefs, like all of the things that help build and grow you, because we are, in my opinion, souls having a human experience. So how are you feeling your soul? How are you taking care of that person in there? Because I had no routine for a while. And then I'm getting old, I was getting older and I was like, it's tough. It is tough. So a lot of times the person we're searching for is ourselves and we don't know how to even dig in deep. We're going all this exterior stuff. And you got to get in there and I don't think there's one method. I know my mom, going to church literally that fills her. For me, I manifest too, but I meditate. I like to, do outdoor stuff, which is why I love LA. I love traveling. And I love I live alone with 2 cats. So I sit with myself and I just process things and I process my emotions and it's not always easy. And even meditation, people think you got to silence your mind. No, you sit with yourself. You're just sitting with yourself. And eventually your mind gets used to taking breaks because you have all these thoughts running and they start to slow, because eventually they have to, if you're consistently working out on your mental health. And I started going to therapy. That was helpful. I felt like sometimes everything is so internal and it's nice to have a conversation with someone that you don't have to, like, that's just not like a family member and you got to go back to and be like, oh, I opened up and, and these, I know not everybody has access to these things, but the things that you can do are like going out in nature and getting sunlight sometimes, sitting down and taking deep breaths, like breath work meditation I didn't even know what it was. And suddenly it opens you up. We only take in about 30% of oxygen on every breath. So these are shallow breaths. Our daily breathing is shallow. When you do breath work meditation, you're getting about 70% more oxygen.
Wow.
So it helps you oxygenate your brain, your blood, it gets it flowing, all of that kind of stuff helps. And everybody's into wellness in LA for the most part anyway. So it just pops up and you just got to make sure it's real for you and what works for you.
Yeah. And I love that. That was one of the things that I loved about living in LA. And I feel like it's starting to trickle down into the rest of the world. More people are talking about mental health.
Yes.
And I always say this, but I'm going to say it again. Like, I really believe that God was intentional with this pandemic in making people stop, just be still with themselves and not leave their four walls and have to be with themselves and just be still. Because I feel like we've been such a go, 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 society that we weren't growing, we weren't feeding our souls. And that's another thing too, that one of my last therapist, I moved on to a new therapist, but she had me doing the breath work. And I'm like, she was like, a lot of time you find yourself without even knowing, you'll just go, just like sighing, but it's like a relief, you're subconsciously relieving yourself of whatever that tension is that is built up in you, And so I think that it's important to do that intentionally more, to do that breath work and to like just kind of still yourself and separate yourself from the busyness, because I feel like that's when we're not productive and that's when we're not seeing the fruit that we want to see, is when we're just busy, and there's no intention behind why we're busy, So I love that you mentioned that. And you brought up the stand-up comedy, and that's something you've been doing for years. What led you down that route?
So I'm a performer, so that was already something that was in the mix. And initially, I think when you came to see the show, I was trying it out and figuring out if I liked it. And I like comedic writing and I like performing, and stand-up comedy is a great outlet for that. And also too, when I sat down with myself for like, what do I want in the next few years? Who do I like? Why do I like them? I love autobiographical books. I love stand-up comedians. So I was like, I want to potentially write my own book, and I want to like lean into my voice and what's my voice, and stand up helps you find your voice. What do I think is funny? And, like, how can I express myself? And also the community. I love when people laugh. I love laughter is joy. And, so that's how I got into it.
I love it. That's everything to me, because I'm a big I watch more comedies than anything, because I love that. I feel like it just brings joy. And I love, how comedic actors, or how comedians, specifically stand-up comedians, are able to be storytellers, and as a writer as well. I feel like that's so beneficial for you, is to be able to get up there and know how to articulate your story and find humor in your story, because that's what keeps you motivated and keeps you going, right?
Yeah.
I love that. And what would you say is the difference between creating a comedy set and memorizing a script? Like, are there challenges between the two, or differences between the two?
Oh, very, very different. Writing a stand-up set. I mean, stand-up is very vulnerable as well, because you're the only person on stage. So you're saying, everybody look at me. And if you don't like it, sorry, you got to get through a bad set. Sometimes you have to get through the audience not feeling you. And that's fine. It's just awkward. And memorizing comedic lines, if they're written by somebody else, you're just trying to help their story come alive. You're trying to help their dream, their vision. You're really more of a vessel for them.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions of the life of an actress?
The glamour. The glamour is there, but usually the glamour, like, that's Rihanna's level, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm building, I'm still building, and I'm not invited to like all these crazy Hollywood parties. Like, sometimes I get it, someone's having something that I know, and a friend of a friend, so I'm at some crazy event, but like, the idea people, the clout of it that people aspire for. I think too, that's where this line between influencer and actor or artist is like it's starting to merge, but it's also like that level of divide where some people just want to be famous. And that's not what, if you came out here to be famous and you decided to be an actor, you better off on a reality TV show. You better try to get famous that way, or get famous being an influencer, find something to go viral with, because being an actor, trying to get famous this way is a lot more work. It's way more about the craft, timing, and talent. And I think you don't have to be the best actress to be working. There's plenty of actors who are just okay, and we watch and we're like, that wasn't good, huh? Okay. But they know how to audition, or they know someone in Hollywood, or they're master manifestors and manifested that life for them even without the talent. And that's not everybody, or God is like, even though they're not talented, he's like, this is what I'm giving it to you, I'm handing it to you. So there's a mix of that.
You have to love it. I feel like with anything that you do,
yeah,
if you're successful in it, right? You have to love it,
yes.
And you have to be willing to go through those dry seasons to get through good seasons. And I love that you brought that up too, with like influencers, and you see a lot of people that are now booking roles off of their Instagram follower count, and things like that. How does that feel as an actress who's put in the work to see that shift in the industry?
I don't know. I have mixed feelings. Sometimes it's frustrating, but also too, I don't really come from a place of lack. Like, there's nothing lacking. There's enough for all of us. If that's what they did, like if that's right for them. Sometimes it's frustrating when it's something that I would deem as a respectable like role for actors that, like Kim Kardashian popping up in a Tyler Perry film. I could care less. Go ahead, girl. Have fun. Like Tyler wanted to throw you in, but like for something where, and sometimes if it's specific, I get it, like with diversity and inclusion, like people get upset where like a trans influencer gets given a role like in like Euphoria or something, and like Hunter Schafer never acted before that. But I'm like, yeah, there was never a space for those kind of people. So there's why would she have reps? She wasn't booking there would have been no role. Nobody wrote roles for her. Right. So why are you can't be upset at people for finally getting an opportunity and them jumping steps, because those other in-between steps were never there for them. So they have to jump up. They have to be a series regular suddenly, because now they have a whole role for a series regular for a trans woman, and nobody ever wrote roles for trans women up until like last, you know what I mean? Yeah, so that type of thing, I'm like, I don't get upset about that, but I also don't think if it's for me, it's going to be for me. What's for me is for me. So
that's good. Yeah. I love that you said that you don't operate in lack, because I think that a lot of people do, they hate on people, or they want what they have. And it's like, there's space and there's room for all of us.
Yep.
So I love that mentality. So you talked about your education and how you had the theatrical background. Do you feel that it's important to continue to take acting classes to hone your craft?
Yeah, because it's like doctors go to college and then they learn new things. Science is evolving, like things are changing. They get new scalpels, they get new tools, they get better ways to perform the same surgeries. They grow in that way. I feel like actors, we get more tools, we get different roles, we learn new accents, we get things and opportunities that help us grow, and you have to be on it, working on it consistently. With the pandemic, it was tough because it was like, we're not going in person. Like, are we doing acting classes on Zoom and all that kind of stuff? But it also depends on where you are in your career. I'm very blessed where I get like enough auditions where I'm at least getting the practice with the auditions. Like I'm like, okay, I'm working on this character this week, and I'm working on this character this week. And, sometimes it slows down, it ebbs and flows, but a lot of times I have enough play/work within, because auditions are a full-time job. Especially now with self-tapes, you got to find a reader. So we got to find a friend who's willing to give you an hour of their time and then set up a camera, make sure the angles are timing and all of this kind of stuff. And, you know, I'm grateful that I have friends that are down to do it. And also I help them as well. So
okay. I was going to ask you, like, what does your support system look like in that? Because I know in order to develop a character and like find your voice within a character, you have to work that out. And sometimes you need someone else to bounce that off of. Like, what is your process when it comes to like developing the characters that you play?
So usually when I get an audition, audition is different from a booking. With an audition, I immediately check the email and I look up what those people have done before, like what other shows did they create, what were the tone of the shows, to get an idea of what this is. Because usually the script, unless it's something that's already on TV and I'm like Blackish, I know how Blackish is. So for me to audition for Blackish, I'm like, oh, I've seen this show. I get an idea of how these characters would perform. And then sometimes if it's something really big or important to me, I'll like get a coach. But everything that I've booked without a coach. So I'm always so indifferent with getting an acting coach for auditions because it's expensive, one. And everything that I book, I usually book because my essence is right for the job and it was meant for me, with or without that coach. So I mean, but sometimes I send in way better tapes because I had a coach. So having that communication with someone, and even the best actors, Holly Berry has a coach on set, Sandra Bullock, like I don't know why those two popped in my head, but I listened to interviews with them saying they had coaches on set. Right. So I'm like, you know, so that it's always nice to have another person look in and help you. But yeah, I break down the script. I make choices. Like I read it out loud 10 times, see if I hear anything different. I read it as if I'm the other characters to see how they see my character. Yeah, because it kind of gives you perspective because you're reading it. If you go in it, yeah, you kind of can be closed-minded. Like, this is how I'm going to say this line and this line and this line. Well, how do those people perceive you? What do they say about you? How do they talk to you? So hearing that, I also, not as much as I used to, but sometimes I'll write down subtext for each line. Like, I'm saying this, but I'm thinking this. Like, my intention is this, but this is what's here. Because a lot of times people don't always say what they're thinking. They'll say like, how you doing today? I'm okay. But really, they're a mess. You know what I mean? Like, people lie all day.
Yeah.
So that's
good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Like, to really dissect that, you know, I feel like sometimes just watching, we just see what's presented, but to really dig deep into the character and for us to really get a full rounded story, we need to know that. You need to know that as the actor. What are they thinking? And I love what you said too, what's for me is for me, you know, and I think that yes, you can do all the studying and you can do, and all that's important, having a coach, but you can't, what's for you, can't nobody take that from you. So I love that. And what has been for you, your recent credits, you've been in the Netflix film All Day and the Night. You have the upcoming House Party reboot. You've been on hit shows like Modern Family, Blackish, and Grand Crew. Does it ever get old seeing yourself on TV, or is it every time, is it still that same excitement?
It's exciting. Yeah. Not necessarily seeing myself, but getting to work, because I'm still in a building phase, you know, like I still am building my career. Like some people, I'm not getting offered any roles yet. I'm still auditioning. So until I'm getting offered roles, I still got, you know, time and work to do. But it's fun. It's like, oh, all the work. And then I get these little nuggets of payoff that feel great. And, you know, yeah.
I know it has to be, you know, especially when you're on set with people like you did Blackish and you're on set with the Tracy Ellis Ross, or people who have been in the game for a long time and you're able to see the way that they work. I would imagine that has to be rewarding.
Oh yeah. Tracy Ellis Ross is a beast. She was so good. She's so and I knew that, but like seeing her and like I was taken aback by her work ethic, her timing, her comedic timing. I was like, wow, these are years of work. Like you could see how she was like handling stuff on her phone and then flipping and making up stuff. It was great. She was great.
I love that. And then even going back to, the improv, and I feel like I'm sure all of that prepares you to be
Mhm.
in that type of setting where, when it's time to be able to have that comedic timing, you can have it, or, to think on your toes, you can have it because you've been in those positions on stage.
Yeah.
So I'm sure all the work you put in, I know it's paying off. One of the things too that I want to encourage people through this show is to, no matter where you are in life, to pursue the thing that you're passionate about and not wait and not think that it's too late for you.
Mhm.
So what would you say to someone? What advice would you give to someone who feels like, they've been called towards acting or something in the entertainment industry, but they think it's too late to get started?
It's never too late to get started, especially with acting. One thing I remember professors saying when I was younger, when I was not when I was younger, but when I was in acting school, is like they're in the field of people who already left. They're like, I'm auditioning against way less people because a lot of people already packed up their bags and quit. So I'm in, like, they were like, y'all are in those 20s categories. Y'all playing 20-year-olds. And a lot of 20-year-olds are still like out here auditioning. So
Yeah.
I have way more competition in the 20-year-old category than the 50-year-old category. So they're saying like, you'll randomly be watching a show and like the lead actress's mom is some woman you've never seen before. And that woman's been working for the past 10 years. And she started being an actress after she retired from her banking job. I mean, if you know what I mean, and you don't have to be that old to start at 30 if you want, start whenever you want, but there's no age. It just know that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And, just be ready to put in time and work. And so, you might get out here and book something right away. My journey was longer, but some people come out here and they're on a movie tomorrow. It just depends on the person and what's right for them. But if you feel it in your gut, it's something you have to do in this industry, or, God's pulling you, then I highly recommend doing it. We get a very short time on this earth. And I would hate for anyone to feel like they didn't pursue their passions or their love or what they were called for.
I love that perspective. Like, the older you get, the less competition there is. Especially like you said with acting, people,
Yep.
okay, I'm 40, I didn't made it, I'm going back home,
Yep.
So,
At 40, if you've been out here doing all of the work that you guys hear that I've been doing and you haven't booked one thing yet, you're like, all right, it's time for me to go get married and settle. And then, so the people who decide to become an actor at 50, they come out here and a whole bunch of 40-year-olds just pack up their bags and go ahead, take up the space, unpack your bag and go in.
It's never too late. I love it. It's never too late. So you mentioned writing. Are there any other, and you mentioned Regina King and all the roles that she plays and how that inspires you. Are there other aspects of, acting or production rather that you would like to pursue behind the camera?
Yeah, so writing and executive producing sort of go hand in hand. So or even not, maybe not executive producing, but producing. So I definitely want to executive produce more stuff. I wrote a few other features and pilots along the past few years that I want to, some I want to direct, some I want to star in, and some I, don't have, like this script that I just sold to Fox. I'm not really in it. I might have a cameo because I wrote it a little older than I am. So so I wouldn't be in that, but I am producer. I'm a producer on it and a writer on it. So definitely want to like build in those areas and play and have fun and see what works. But I definitely want to direct more and write and executive produce more.
I love it. I love it. I love everything that you're doing. It's exciting to watch and to see and to hear your journey, and for people to realize that it's not an overnight thing, because I think a lot of time people see your face and then like, oh, where'd they come from? They must be this.
I went to high school with her.
Yeah. But no, it's been years of grinding and putting in the work, and now it's paying off. And I'm excited to see it. I just hope that it only grows bigger and better from here. Tell the people where they can find you, how they can keep up with you, social media.
Yes. You can find me on Twitter at Shakira Paye, on Instagram at Shakira Paye, and on TikTok at Shakira Paye. TikTok's a little crazy, so you might know about it. I just be posting random stuff on TikTok.
I feel like TikTok is that audience, you know?
Yes, videos are all over the place. Who knows what I'm gonna post? So
I love it. And any upcoming projects?
Yes, House Party comes out July 28th, 2022. So set your dials on HBO Max. Yay. And I don't know when the feature that I'm writing comes out, but it's called Regina Wants Her Eggs Back. And we're probably going to go in production this year, and it'll probably come out next year. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, that's kind of it right now.
I love that title. You sold me on the title alone.
Oh, yay. Okay, good. Yeah.
House Party reboot, like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like a cult classic. So to be a part of that, that's amazing.
I'm very excited. It's its own thing. It's nothing like the original, but it's a movie about a party. It's Black joy, it's Black play, and I think there's space for it. I know that Black people hate reboots, but get over it.
I feel like we're embracing it now. You know,
I know.
Other things like, because we're getting nostalgic, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Those things that we love, and I'm excited to see it. I think that it's a good thing. And thank you for being here, Shakira. We are so happy to have you be a part of this duo today, and wish you the most success. You already got it, but more.
Yes, it was so good seeing you, and you too, killing it, and just following, you know, your bliss and going where you need to go. Like a lot of people never even travel or leave Baltimore sometimes. So I respect it when I see it.
Thank you, girl. Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching another episode of Name a Better Duo. Be sure to follow, like, all that good stuff. All that information is down below. But until next time, have an amazing, amazing week.